Welcome to the Rewild Your Business podcast. I'm your host, Jill Mokes, and I'm very happy you're here with me. Otherwise, it's just me talking into a microphone, which makes no sense whatsoever. So welcome. So what are we talking about this week? I want to talk to you this week about overcomplicating our offers. I think as coaches and guides and people who do the kind of work that we do, we often get tempted into making our offers really complicated, and we do it from the best of reasons. So what happens as a result of wanting to give that huge amount of value inside our offers is that the offer itself ends up being this kind of sprawling ecosystem of a thing, a bit of a monster, and you're offering modules and bonuses and workbooks and add-ons and recordings and community, and which all of those things have their place. But if you are a coach who is still in that stage of building up your coaching practice, working towards getting to capacity with one-to-one clients so you can then think about building out your offer suite and building out that offer triangle that I talk about, that offer pyramid. If you're still in that building out phase, then all of that is too much. It will mean that you cannot describe to someone in one breath what they get if they work with you. And then you're doing yourself the disservice. And what happens then is that the potential client on the other end of that conversation, where you're struggling to kind of sum up succinctly what they get if they work with you, they're not thinking to themselves, oh, so much value. They're actually thinking, yeah, I don't understand what I'm paying for here. And we know that confused people don't buy. We know that. Confused people always say, I'll think about it, and they never come back. People who are really clear about what they're investing in, those are the people who buy. So today I want to go into why this happens, and I want to share with you a really simple 3-part structure that is going to allow you to just say your simple offer out loud with real conviction. Okay, let's dive into the episode. The Rewild Your Business podcast is sponsored by the Coaching Business Academy. The truth is, you trained to be a coach, not a marketer, not a salesperson, a coach. And the problem is, nobody taught you the business bit. So you're left guessing at the how to actually get clients part. The Coaching Business Academy is a 12-week program that fills that gap. It's practical strategy around positioning, offer creation, pricing, marketing, and client enrollment, together with the inner mindset work, because trust me, you need both. Our summer cohort starts on the 4th of August. If you want to find out more, head to jillmokes.com/academy, where you can get all of the details. So I think the reason that this happens, the reason that we overcomplicate, is because we are not fully confident in our own value. And what happens if you're not fully sure of your value, you are going to add things. You're going to start padding the offer. So 6 calls becomes 8 calls just in case. And this simple container that you once were able to describe quite easily when you first started becomes this very comprehensive transformational experience with a ton of other things added on to it. Because you feel like you're being generous, you feel like you're being thorough. But the problem is, like I say, if the offer is really layered and complicated, you're really hiding inside of scaffolding. And I think so many of us do this. I know I did this earlier on. And sometimes I still get tempted to do this and have to remind myself of this. I know this to be true. What I'm sharing with you today, I know to be true, and yet I still have to consciously remind myself of this if I am creating a new offer for my offer pyramid, which of course is more developed now because I've been doing this for 10 years. You know, certainly when you begin, you don't need an offer pyramid. You need a a simple container that you can offer to a client and describe really easily so they know what it is going to look like to work with you, right? But I still catch myself now adding in more and more and more. And then suddenly I think, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm really overcomplicating. And by overcomplicating, I'm running the risk of diluting the potency of the work. And that's a real danger that we have here when we're adding in constant bonus trainings and, more workbooks than we need, voice notes on demand, all of those things that we do with the best of intentions. It's really not serving anyone. It's certainly not serving you because it's going to make your offer very complex to deliver. But it's not serving your client either, because that's where overwhelm sits if you've made your offer super complicated like that. And I think there's another reason that we get tempted to do this, and that is because complexity feels safer to price. So if you think about it, if your offer is one simple thing, like 3 months of coaching, they get a call every other week, whatever, and that's it. That is the container, which actually is my, one-on-one container is simply either a weekly call or a bi-weekly call with me. And there isn't really anything else to the offer. My private clients get email access to me and WhatsApp access, but that's it. There is no online component. There are no workbooks. It's a very, very simple, traditional coaching offer. They get time with me. And the reason this feels a bit exposing, I think, particularly to new coaches, is that they have to put the price right next to the simplicity of that offer. And so then anyone can kind of compare it, can question it. Whereas if your offer is this complicated bundle of 10 different elements, the price in your mind is being diffused across all of that. So you can, you see this all the time where people are pointing to any one point. You see this all the time where people are pointing to any one piece and they're saying, well, this bit alone is worth, more than the whole price that you're paying. And what they're really doing is they're trying to justify the number to themselves. But the thing is, your client or your potential client doesn't experience your offer as all of those 10 different elements. They are facing a simple decision. It's a yes or a no. And so the more pieces they have to hold in their head that are quite complicated while they're making that decision, the more likely they are to put it down and not make a decision. So that's something to really think about. The thing you think you're protecting yourself from, which is being vulnerable and almost too exposed with your price, if your price just sits next to that container of time that they get to spend with you. Of course, it never is representing just the time they spend with you. They're actually paying for your insight, for your coaching expertise, for the way you will make them feel when they work with you, for the transformation they'll get. But effectively, when you're putting the price against a simple looking offer, it can feel exposing. And I think, part of this piece around the pricing, there's also that thing where we worry that simple means cheap. In other words, if you strip your offer back to something that you can explain really easily, you've somehow diminished it. But I honestly think that's completely round the wrong way. I think simple is actually what true confidence looks like. I think the more simple you can make your offer, and the more you can communicate that offer with conviction around the simplicity of it, the more compelling that is for a potential client. The more that client is going to understand what you're offering and not have to weigh up 50 things before they decide on the yes or the no. In fact, the only thing they're having to weigh up, is this the right coach for me? And that's as it should be. That's really as it should be, right? So how can you get to a place where you can trust that the simple version of your offer is enough? I really want you to sit with that. So I promised to walk you through the 3 things that I believe make up a simple offer. And again, if you are a coach in the early stages of building out your practice, this is so important. I think I've mentioned that I'm hosting a workshop, actually. I think I mentioned it last week. If you didn't hear last week's episode, I will tell you again now. I'm hosting a free workshop on the 21st of July, and this will form part of that workshop. So we will do this in real time together on Zoom in a workshop format. But this is about creating a very simple starter coaching offer. And I just want to say, this isn't just for startup coaches either. I come across a lot of coaches who could really use going back to this, even though they're more established, going back to this and rewilding their coaching offers to come up with something that they can describe easily the way that I'm going to teach you to do it. Okay, so I'll pop the link in the show notes. So sign up for the workshop, because that's going to be a brilliant way to do this with me in real time and get my support and feedback on what you're doing. So the first part of this simple offer is the format. So the format just has to answer, what does someone actually get? So not the feeling, not the transformation, but the actual logistics. How long is the engagement? What does contact with you look like and how often? And that's it. So an example would be, it's a 3-month container. It's bi-weekly 60-minute calls with voice note support between sessions. That's a very easy to communicate format. I think that took me, 3 seconds to say? Anyone hearing that knows exactly what they're signing up for. They haven't got to do those mental gymnastics to work out, oh my gosh, okay, is that too overwhelming for me? So do I have to be part of the community? Oh, what about, how many workbooks? So how long is it going to take me to do that work outside of the coaching sessions? Can you see how that can really overcomplicate it? Whereas for someone who is looking for a coach to work with, they want the coach. What is the simple format that you will provide that coaching in? So the only things you've got to think about and make a note of. Oh, and I will pop in the show notes a link to the workbook that's going to go with the workshop on the 21st, because if you're listening to this, you can actually get a head start and start thinking about some of the things for this section of the workshop. Prompts to help you work out the format of your simple offer. How many weeks or months does it run for? How often do you meet and for how long? And then what is included, if anything, between the calls? And be ruthless with that. If it's just a nice to have, then it's not part of the format. It's something that you might want to offer them in the email that you send them once they've actually agreed to go ahead with you. But don't include it as part of the offer that you're putting to them, right? So be ruthless. Just include the format, the genuine logistics of what the coaching element looks like, okay? Second thing you have to get clear and simple on is the price. And I want you to think about, how can I get one simple price, one number? Because what I see so often is literally overcomplicated pricing, tiered pricing, comparison tables. You know, the comparison tables that have got, if you go for this option, you get this, 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 this. If you go for this option, you get that, that, that. And it's really common. And don't get me wrong, I do that in some group programs and some perhaps more where the format or the container itself has different options inside it. But if you are just pricing a simple offer to put to your one-on-one clients while you are building out your coaching practice to capacity, you do not need tiered pricing. You just need a simple price that you can communicate with confidence. And actually, that tends to be what this tiered pricing tends to be masking, a bit of a confidence problem, I think. And they don't solve it at all. One of the ones that I think is just really confounds me is when coaches, actually, oh no, I don't want to put that, Luke. No, take that bit out. So you're going to pick your number. You're going to pick a number that you know represents the value of the work you do, the value of your experience, the value of your training, the value of how good a coach you are, but also doesn't make you feel sick to say. So I am not one of those business coaches who's going to bully you into overcharging. And when I say overcharging, I mean it from your perspective. There is no such thing as overcharging from a market perspective because everyone is different. You know, everyone's service is worth what someone is willing to pay for it, what it's worth to them. But there is such a thing as overcharging when it comes to your own nervous system. So I don't want you to be stretching yourself so much that you cannot speak that number with confidence. That makes no sense whatsoever. So you need to be picking the number and then you need to be saying it out loud. Do this alone if that works first. You need to keep saying it out loud until it stops making your voice go up at the end. So you know when you say you've got an offer that is £1,500, and then I want you to practice saying it out loud. And if it helps, say it out loud alone in your kitchen with no one else listening until it stops making your voice go up at the end like a question. You know what this is like. If you can't say your price as just a statement of fact, it's £1,500. Full stop. No upward inflection at the end. No saying the price is $1,500. Can you see the difference? It's almost like you're so unsure, you're testing what their reaction is going to be. Or, you know, my price for my coaching is $1,500. That does not inspire confidence. So this is really something you can just practice. Practice saying it outside. I want you to get to a point where it flows so easily. So you've communicated the format. So the package I offer is 3 months of coaching. We would meet together every other week. You'd also get access to voice notes with me in between. The price for that package is £1,500 and you can pay that in one go or over 3 months. That's so easy to say. Actually, that didn't sound easy to say. I don't want to do that. Go back. I'm going to do it again. Sorry. So you're going to pick your number and then you're going to practice saying it out loud really confidently until you can say it without your voice going up at the end and turning it into a question. So if you can't say your price without going, so the price for my coaching is £1,500. Can you see there that my voice went up? And that is indicating a lack of confidence in the price I'm charging. I want you to get to the point where you can just state the price you charge as a fact. It's just a statement. The price for that package is £1,500. Really easy, full stop, no upward question mark at the end. And the other thing is no kind of trying to justify that price straight away afterwards. I see that happen a lot as well. So if you're feeling that urge to over-explain the price as soon as you've said it, well, it's $1,500, but that includes everything. And honestly, I could charge more, but you need to stop. The price is just the fact. That you can just communicate that. It's of no more importance than the container itself, the number of sessions. It's the price for the package. We've got to demystify this. We've got to get really good at just being able to state the price and not having an attachment, not having an emotional attachment to what we think about that price, to what our money stories or money mindset beliefs are. Okay, so if you need to, keep practicing saying the price. Rehearse how you would say it to a client. So my package is 3 months. We would work together every other week. The calls are 60 minutes long and that package costs £1,500. Keep practicing until you can just say it as facts. And then the third part, and this is the one that people get wrong in two different ways. They either go one way or the other. So the third part, and this is the part that people get wrong in two different ways. They either go one way or the other, and that is around the promise. So some people are going to go too vague and going to say something vague like you'll gain clarity and confidence in your business, or you will feel better about yourself, right? That is, so vague. No one is ever or has ever bought anything because of that sentence. Yeah, that could describe literally any coaching offer that has ever existed. So too vague, but also too enormous. That's the other thing that I see people do. And that is where you're going to recognize this. And I don't think anyone listening to this podcast would really fall into this category, actually. But I do see this a lot in the market where people are saying, by the end of working together, you'll have built a 6-figure business and you'll have healed your relationship with money and you'll finally be free to buy your yacht or your second home in the Caribbean, right? That is not a promise that you can keep as a result of someone working with you in this limited time container, okay? And that makes you sound like you're overcompensating. And that's usually because you probably are. You're trying to make the promise sound so compelling that, my goodness, if anyone for 1 minute believed they could get that from working with you, then of course, surely they're going to sign up. That doesn't work either. So too vague doesn't work. Too enormous doesn't work. The promise that works is specific, believable, and actually slightly more boring, but in a really good way. Okay? The promise that works is the one that names a more concrete outcome that is really tied to the kind of work that you do in the format that you've just described to them. So for me, it might be something like, once we finish working together, you're going to have a simple offer that you can say with confidence and that you can sell with confidence. And you're going to have the beginning of a client pipeline that really isn't reliant on you being on Instagram every day. That's a specific promise. It's tied to the format. So in other words, it's not promising the moon. It's something that is achievable within that container. So thinking about a 3-month coaching package. And because of that, it's actually believable. And that means it's compelling. That means someone is going to be able to visualize themselves achieving that, getting to that place within that container of working with you. So try this with your own promise. Would a skeptical friend, hearing you say it for the first time, think, yep, that seems achievable in that time frame? Or would they say to you, that actually sounds like a crazy claim for 3 months? If it's the second one, you've got to pull it back. You're going too big. Equally, if they say, but what will I actually achieve then? So what will I actually walk away with? Then you're too vague. It needs to be a promise that you can actually deliver within the container that you've offered them. And if you can do that, that will outsell a huge, enormous promise every single time, because people honestly can tell the difference between conviction and a maybe stretching but still believable outcome for themselves. And because we are only interested in building ethical businesses, I only ever teach you ethical business practices, we're not interested in over-promising or giving someone some kind of false hope that they're going to get to somewhere that you're never going to be able to get them to within that 3 months of working together. And of course, I'm not asking you to undersell what you do either. That's not the point either. But you know the difference. You know the difference between overpromising because you're overcompensating for a lack of confidence and not doing yourself justice. You know the difference between those two things. So let's pull it together then. 3 things. Format, what they actually get, price, very clear, simple pricing, and the promise. By the end of this, you're going to have whatever. You're going to walk away with whatever that promise is. So have a go now, wherever you're listening to this, if you're in the car or on a walk, doesn't matter. Have a go at saying all of those 3 things out loud right now in connection with your offer. If you are struggling to do that, then you know this is where you need to do a bit of work. You know that you need to be really nailing this so that the next time you speak to a potential client, which if you come to the workshop and get every part of what I'm going to be delivering in the workshop, which is called How to Get Your First or Next Paying Coaching Clients, then, having this kind of simple offer is part of that. And if you come to the workshop, you're going to learn the other pieces, which mean you're going to be having these conversations and making these offers to potential clients. Then I want you to be able to do that with this kind of clarity. Okay? Once you've done it, once you have got your simple offer crafted, I want you to really resist the urge to add to it. And you will feel that urge. I know you will. Sooner or later, probably sooner, you're going to think of something that you could add on. An extra call, maybe one more thing, maybe a welcome call. Maybe I'll make the first call 90 minutes. Maybe, one more thing that will make it even better. But I want you to leave it alone. And just remember that a good offer isn't the one with the most in it. It's the one that you deliver the most wholeheartedly, with the most confidence. The one that you can communicate the price of without your voice wobbling. So like I say, come along to the free live workshop on the 21st of July, How to Get Your First or Next Paying Coaching Clients, because we're going to do this work in the workshop. You're going to nail your format, your price and your promise. And this is just one part of the workshop. It's a 90-minute workshop. I'm also going to teach you the other pieces of actually getting people to be able to communicate this too. So actually having conversations with people and putting your offer to them. So register now. I'll pop the link in the show notes. This is one of those really seriously a working session workshop. So there are going to be limited places just because I won't be able to give everyone the support that I want to give them. And if necessary, I'll always run it again. But I really want this to be a deep dive, because this question around how do I actually get coaching clients is one that I get asked probably every day. It's the thing that at some point that will come up. I don't have enough clients. I don't know where my ideal clients are. I don't know how to sell to my clients. I don't know how to get clients. So that's why I am running this workshop, because this is clearly something that people really need help with now. And yes, if you are at the early stages of building out your coaching practice, then this is really for you, because your coach training rarely includes this in it. Or if they do, they don't do it in an in-depth way, and they don't necessarily answer the questions as bluntly as I will for you. But also if you're a more established coach, but you're not signing up the number of clients you want to be, if you're a coach who doesn't yet have a sold out or at capacity coaching practice, then come along to this workshop, because there will be something here for you too. Okay? All right. I hope this has been helpful. Links in the show notes. I'll also put the link to the workbook as well, so you can have a sneaky peek what we're going to be covering on the day, because you know me, I don't gatekeep anything. It's all there. The content's not going to change. I don't mind if you've had a preview of it, because coming together on the workshop is where the real powerful stuff, the work, is going to get done. Okay. All right. So I just want to leave you with one thing, actually. The most confident coaches are never the ones with the most elaborate offers. They're the ones that can genuinely communicate what they do, what it costs, and what you'll get in a really short amount of time, 15 seconds, whatever, without stumbling over it. And that isn't because their work is simple, or their work isn't valuable, or that their work is generic. It's not because of that. It's because they've done this hard work of deciding what really matters. Okay, so I will see some of you, my lovely listeners, on the 21st, I hope. And until then, take care, have a great week, and I will see you back here same time, same place next week. Bye for now.